and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a 90s kind of girl. This will be part one of my introduction to my book collection. Some of these I've read, some of them are still waiting to be read and are on my physical TBR. But if you are a book lover and you love to read and also are just nosy like I am and want to know what's on other people's bookshelves, stick around. So the first book I have is Wicked. It is by Gregory Maguire. So I bought this book actually after learning that, or after watching the movie, but also once I learned that it's actually a book series. I never knew that Wicked was a book collection, or that Wizard of Oz was a part of it and everything. So yeah, so that's why I decided to pick it up.
What? What are you staring at? Do I have something in my teeth?
No, it's just... you're green.
I am.
The next book that I have in my collection, I actually picked up on the same day that I picked up Wicked. And it's the Vampire Chronicles collection. So it's by Anne Rice, and the only book that I've known of or read after all of these years was The Interview of the Vampire, and then I learned that it was a whole book series, so I want to read it all. And what's cool about this one, as you can see, is quite thick. It has all three books of the Vampire Chronicle inside of it: Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Lestat, and The Queen of the Damned. And I am excited to read this because I actually watched the first season. Well, is it first two seasons? Yeah, first two seasons of Interview with a Vampire that is now on H. Don't make me lie. But it has Jacob Anderson in it, who I love, is fantastic as Louis. And then I forgot them. I want to say his first name's Sam. I'll include it in below.
Well, I like to do it. I enjoy it.
Well, I don't. You don't have to humiliate them. Well, I don't say that you have to enjoy it. Kill them swiftly if you have to, but do it. Embrace what you are. You are a killer, Louis.
Or I'll include it somewhere in this video, his actual name, but he is wonderful as Lestat. I love him. So I want to read this, and something that you guys may have learned about me from another previous video, my get to know me video, is that I would love for this channel to be an inclusion of comparing books to their movies and or shows. And my favorite monsters, if I have to pick a favorite monster, is always going to be vampires. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. It's just because, I mean, I don't know what it is about vampires, but I guess because they have to seduce people, I just find it kind of sexy. I don't know. And they're beautiful. But yeah, so yeah. The next book that I actually picked up in that haul, along with the Vampire Chronicles and Wicked, was the autobiography of Asada, which is the autobiography by Asada Shakur. I've always wanted to read this, and I wanted a physical copy of it. And it's really hard to find a copy of it, and maybe it's because of the book ban. But yeah, I've always wanted to read it. So the synopsis says, on May 2nd, 1973, Black Panther Asada Shakur, aka Joanne Chesmard, lay in a hospital close to death, handcuffed to her bed, while local, state, and federal police attempted to question her about the shootout on the New Jersey Turnpike that had claimed the life of a white state trooper. Long a target of J. Edgar Hoover's campaign to defame, infiltrate, and criminalize black nationalist organizations and their leaders, Shakur was incarcerated for 4 years prior to her conviction on flimsy evidence in 1977 as an accomplice to murder. This intensely personal and political autobiography belies the fearsome image of Joanne Chesmard, long projected by the media and the state. With wit and candor, Asada Shakur recounts the experiences that led her to a life of activism and portrays the strengths, weaknesses, and eventual demise of black and white revolutionary groups at the hands of government officials. The result is a signal contribution to the literature about Growing Up Black in America and has already taken its place alongside the autobiography of Malcolm X and the works of Maya Angelou. 2 years after her conviction, Assata Shakur escaped from prison. She was given political asylum by Cuba, where she now resides. The next book I have is Black Roses. It is an ode celebrating powerful Black women by Harold Green III. Foreword by Rhapsody. Illustrations by Melissa Colby. And it's actually a book of, it says odes, so I'm guessing poetry and things. I looked into it when I first bought it, but I don't actually remember where I actually got this one from. But yep, I look forward to reading it. It says Black Roses is a much needed celebration of contemporary Black women who are making history and shaping our culture as we know it today. From activists, athletes, writers, politicians, and more, these 40 Black Roses continue to leave their mark on the world by creating new beauty in their respective art forms, heading movements, fighting for equality, changing the status quo, and championing new definitions of what's possible for future generations. Spoken word poet and founder of the music collective Flowers for the Living, Harold Green's inspiring poetry, combined with Melissa Colby's breathtaking illustrations, will urge you to learn more about these incredible women's achievements beyond the pages of this collection. Through the power of written verse, we can honor the important roles they play in the zeitgeist while exploring which of their admirable traits and experiences can be found within all of us. This book in my collection is Mexican Gothic. It is a New York Times bestseller, and it's by Silvia Moreno Garcia, author of Gods of Jade and Shadow, which, if this one is good, that'll be the next one I get of hers. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Noemi Tabata heads to High Place, a distant house in Mexican countryside, unsure that what she will find. Noemi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, more suited to cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough, smart, and not afraid, not of her cousin's New English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Noemi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Noemi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Noemi's only ally in the inhospitable place is the family's youngest son, but he too may be hiding something dark. For there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place, as Noemi discovers when she begins to unearth stories of violence and madness. Mesmerized by this terrifying yet seductive world, Noemi may soon find it impossible to save her cousin or even escape this enigmatic house. So, I am very interested in reading this. I think I got this one actually from Target before the Target ban. And I wanted to read it because I like scary movies, but I am more likely to read a scary or a thriller book than I actually will watch a scary movie, because I just don't like gore. So yeah, that is Mexican Gothic. The next book I have is Defining Moments in Black History, Reading Between the Lies by Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory has been an unsparing and incisive culture force for more than 50 years. A friend of such luminaries as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Medgar Evers, Gregory is an unrelenting, lifelong activist against social injustice, whether he was marching in Selma during the Civil Rights Movement or organizing student demonstrations to protest the Vietnam War, participating in rallies for Native Americans and feminist rights, or fighting apartheid in South Africa. Known as much for his comedic achievements as an actor, author, and social critic as for his activism, Gregory is the forebearer of today's new generation of Black comics, including Larry Wilmore, W. Kamau Bell, and Trevor Noah. But Gregory has always kept it indisputably real when discussing race in America, fearlessly lacing laughter with controversial truths in a manner that is intimately his own. Now, in defining moments in Black history, Gregory charts the empowering yet often obscured past of the African American experience in his unapologetically candid voice. He moves from African ancestry and surviving the Middle Passage to modern day protests, a captivating journey through time. This collection of provocative essays explores historical movements such as the Great Migration and the Harlem Renaissance, as well as cultural touchstones, among them Marian Anderson's performance on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and Billie Holiday's haunting delivery of Strange Fruit. Here is an essential, unique, no-holds-barred history lesson sure to provoke, enlighten, uplift, and entertain for one of our greatest living legends. The next book I have was actually given to me by an attorney I used to work for. It is The Unexampled Courage. The Blinding of Sergeant Isaac Woodard and the Awakening of President Harry S. Truman and Judge J. Wade's Warring by Richard Gergel. Sergeant Isaac Woodard, a battlefield-decorated African-American soldier, climbed aboard a Greyhound bus on February 2nd, 1946 in Augusta, Georgia on his last leg home after 3 years of military service. Things suddenly went awry when a brief heated exchange with the bus driver resulted in Woodard's removal from the bus and his arrest in the small town of Batesburg, South Carolina. Shortly after the Batesburg police chief, Linwood Scholl, took Woodard into custody, he beat the soldier with his blackjack, blinding him. Details of Woodard's tragic encounter soon reached President Harry S. Truman. Outraged by the treatment of a uniformed American soldier, Truman wrote to his attorney general and made it clear that there was a need for an effective federal response. Within days, criminal civil rights charges were brought against Scholl in the federal district court in South Carolina, and Truman began establishing the first presidential committee on civil rights. Truman's committee recommended groundbreaking reforms, including ending segregation in the armed forces. On July 26, 1948, Truman, over vigorous opposition, issued Executive Order 9981, integrating the American military and marking the beginning of the end of Jim Crow. Scholl was tried before United States District Judge J. Wade's Warring, a Charleston patrician whose father was a Confederate veteran. An all-white jury quickly acquitted Scholl, but Judge Waring was conscience-stricken by the failure of the justice system to hold the obviously culpable police chief accountable. Waring soon began issuing landmark civil rights decisions that rocked his native state and challenged the foundations of racial segregation of all Black disenfranchisement. His courageous dissent in a 1951 school desegregation case in which he declared segregation per se unconstitutional became the model for the Supreme Court's unanimous decision in Brown versus Board of Education 3 years later. Richard Gergel's Unexampled Courage details the long overlooked story of the blinding of Sergeant Woodard and its transformative effects on President Truman, Judge Waring, and ultimately America's civil rights history. This is a story that deserves to be told with all its pathos, its brutality, and its redemption of American system of justice. Next book is called Blind Ambitions by the author of Scenes from a Sister, Lolita Fowles. It's actually an older book, and it was given to me by one of my old co-workers. Hollywood, the town of money, sex, ambition, and betrayal, has long been the place people go in search of fulfilling their dreams. But its reality is a cruel one. Opportunities are few and the competition ruthless. Innocent hearts can suddenly turn dark, and the most loyal of friends become bitter enemies. Lolita Fowles, one of America's finest young writers, has created in Blind Ambitions a page-turning novel about the trials of young women trying to make it in Hollywood. Desi, Sharon, and Bettina are struggling to make names for themselves amid the glitz, glamour, and deception of the entertainment industry. They are swept away by its intrigue, intensity, but cannot ignore the desperate calls from the ghosts of their past. If they do, These shadows of infidelity, abandonment, and murder will destroy everything they've worked for. Whether trying to revive a stagnant career or escape a former reputation, each woman finds herself at a pivotal moment where the hurt of yesterday must be faced before she can secure success. Both die-hard Lolita fans and new readers alike will be riveted as they follow these women through the dark side of Hollywood into their bright future. I love like old glitzy Hollywood glamour and like the stories of old Hollywood. So this definitely is right up my alley. The next book in my collection, The City of Falling Angels. I actually got this one as a prize for at my old law school. They had a tour of the library, and they had us doing some type of at this time I can't remember what the game was, but I won and I was able to choose a prize. So I chose this book, The City of Fallen Angels by John Berendt. And to be honest, I have no idea what this is about. Venice, a city of masks and riddles where narrow streets and passageways form a giant maze that confounds the uninitiated and deepens the sense of mystery. As captivating as it is elusive, the city teeters in precarious balance between endurance and decay. Architectural treasures crumble, foundation shift, ornaments fall, even as efforts to preserve them are underway. In The City of Falling Angels, John Berendt, author of the record-breaking bestseller Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, unveils the enigmatic Venice as only he can. The next book I have is First Things First by Nadira Simmons, a hip-hop ladies who changed the game. I love this. It's so pretty. I actually got this book as a birthday gift to myself for my 30th birthday, actually. So I've had this over a year now. Next book I have is actually written by two people. It is called I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Jilly Siegel and Kimberly Jones. And I'm assuming that it's cool how the cover is, and you can actually flip it and see it the other way. Lena and Campbell aren't friends. Lena has her killer style, her awesome boyfriend, and a plan. She knows she's going to make it big. Campbell, on the other hand, is just trying to keep her head down and get through the year at her new school. When both girls attend the Friday night football game, what neither expects is for everything to descend into sudden mass chaos. Chaos born from violence and hate. Chaos that unexpectedly throws them together. They aren't friends. They hardly understand the other's point of view, but none of that matters when the city is up in flames and they only have each other to rely on if they're going to survive the night. I have is In Every Mirror She's Black by Lola Akinmaid Ackerstrom. I'm pretty sure I ruined her name. So sorry about that. It says on the inside, an arresting debut about 3 black women linked to the same influential white man as they build new lives in Stockholm. So I'm wondering if Stockholm refers to Stockholm Syndrome, as in y'all were held captive. So the next book I have actually read, but I didn't finish it and I need to read it. I was actually reading it for a class that I was taking when I was in law school. So this one is called Chokehold, Policing Black Men by Paul Butler, with a preface by the author. NBC legal analyst Paul Butler's Chokehold is a wonderfully disturbing book that will upset everything you think you know about race and criminal justice in America, says Michael Eric Dyson. Butler, a former prosecutor, provides an honest and practical guide to dealing with police stops, arrests, and prosecution that speaks to the lived experiences of black men across the country who are targeted by a justice system that is designed to punish them. According to Michael Render, aka Killer Mike, Chokehold illustrates how the system is broke on purpose. As hashtag Black Lives Matter co-founder Opal Tometi said, and offers an explosive and radical argument to crash the system. Next book I have is Dear Miss Metropolitan, a novel by Carolyn Farrell. And I'll be honest, I picked this one up because of the cover, and it's pretty, and I do think I read the synopsis for this one. Synopsis says, Fern seeks refuge from her mother's pill popping and boyfriends via Soul Train. Gwen finds salvation in the music of Prince, much to her congregation's dismay, and Jezina, miles ahead of her classmates at her gifted and talented high school, is a brainy and precocious enigma. None of this matters to Boss Man, who abducts them and holds them captive in a dilapidated house in Queens. Only 2 of the victim girls are found when they are rescued. On that night, throngs line the block, gawking and claiming ignorance. Among them is lifelong resident Miss Metropolitan, advice columnist for the local weekly. But how could anyone who fancies herself a newspaper woman have missed a horror story unfolding in her own neighborhood? The mystery surrounding the fate of the third girl and the fragmented existence of the survivors stand at the pulsing center of this literary page-turner. Carolyn Farrell's extraordinary and original novel explores the intersections of grief and rage, personal strength and healing, and what we owe one another. Actually, I know why I picked this one up after reading the synopsis. It really reminds me of, there's a true crime case where these 3 girls were kidnapped. I forgot the name. If I can remember it, I'll insert it somewhere. But this man kidnapped 3 girls, and one of them ended up having a baby, and how they were found and kept was very similar to what it sounds like this book is maybe loosely based on.
The 6th of May 2013, 3 women were rescued from a house in Cleveland, Ohio, USA.
Prayers.
Amanda Berry, Gina DeJesus, and Michelle Knight had been missing for 11 years. What had happened to them had been a mystery, and it's alleged that 52-year-old Ariel Castro kidnapped and imprisoned the 3 women, keeping them locked in his house for a decade.
The next book I have is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. With her newly completed PhD in astronomy in hand, Grace Porter goes on a girls' trip to Vegas to celebrate. She's a straight A, hardworking high achiever. She is not the kind of person who goes to Vegas and gets drunkenly married to a woman whose name she doesn't know, till she does exactly that. The next book I have is Off the Record, a story too explosive to keep quiet by Cameron Garrett. And I picked this up because I like the cover. It's so pretty, and I like the peach. Ever since 17-year-old Josie Wright can remember, writing has been her identity, the thing that grounds her when everything else is a garbage fire. So when she wins a contest to write a celebrity profile for Deep Focus magazine, she's equal parts excited and scared, but also ready. She's got this. Soon Josie is jetting off on a multi-city tour, rubbing elbows with sparkling celebrities, frenetic handlers, stone-faced producers, and eccentric stylists. She even finds herself catching feelings for the subject of her profile, dazzling young newcomer Marius Connett. Josie's world is expanding so rapidly she doesn't know whether she's flying or falling. But when a young actress lets her in on a terrible secret, the answer is clear. She's in over her head. One woman's account leads to another and another. Josie wants to expose the man responsible, but she's reluctant to speak up, unsure if this is her story to tell. What if she lets down the women who have entrusted her with their stories? What if this ends her writing career before it even begins? There are so many reasons not to go ahead, but if Josie doesn't step up, who will? Books that I am about to show you all actually came from my old co-worker who gave me a list of books, and or gave me a bag of books that she wanted to get rid of. The first one is What Goes Around Comes Around by Darian Lee. Winston and Arnell, the best friends of beloved characters from Darian Lee's best-selling books, All That and a Bag of Chips, and Been There, Done That, seem to have it all. Good looks, professional success, and an irrepressible appeal to the opposite sex. However, in What Goes Around Comes Around, readers learn that they share something else, a shocking secret buried deep in their past. Next book I have is by Carl Weber. I think actually the next 3 books that I have are by Carl Weber, and I've read a couple of Carl Weber books growing up, but I was in like high school and stuff, and I probably should not have been reading his books. And I love how messy he is, so I'm sure I'll when I do get to these, I'll enjoy them. So this one is Baby Mama Drama. You can tell by the title, it's gonna be messy. Yeah, he's almost like how you expect Tyler Perry to be. It's gonna be some mess. What's cool about this one, I think she actually got this from, looks like she might have gotten this one from Goodwill, and it actually has Carl Weber's signature in it. I did not know that. The next Carl Weber book I have is called Something on the Side. So the next book I have is by Carl Weber, or Weber. I'm not exactly sure how to say his name. So You Call Yourself a Man.
No, stop. No,
Mommy.
stop. No, you can't marry him. What are you doing? No, you can't marry him.
Wait a minute. Now, ma'am, why can't they marry?
That's your father, Tanisha.
What?
Elena? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh my God. What are you doing here?
Kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? Mom. No, Tanisha.
Elena,
No,
what are you
baby.
doing here?
Wait a minute, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, baby.
The next book I have is not a Carl Weber one, but I also got it with those books, is Practicing What You Preach. Is It a Sin to Let a Good Man Get Away? By Vanessa Davis Griggs. The next book I have is Can't We Be Friends? A novel of Ella Fitzgerald and Marilyn Monroe by Denise S. Bryce and Eliza Knight. And I actually started reading this book. I didn't finish. So I'm going to actually start over and start from the beginning, because I really don't remember what all happened. So I want to start over reading this one. And like I said before, I love old Hollywood, which is why I picked this book up. Like, I love Ella Fitzgerald. Her voice is amazing, or was amazing. Next book I have not read yet is called You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. It's You Had Me at Hola. And I'm pretty sure I bought it because it's so pretty. And it was during a time when I wanted to pick up more books of people of color. Because obviously I'm black. So I buy a lot of African American books, or books written by black people. And I didn't have a lot of books from other people of color. So I wanted to get more. It says, I'm not going to read it all. It says, leading ladies do not end up on tabloid covers. Leading ladies don't need a man to be happy. Leading ladies do not rebound with their new co-stars. So that should be interesting. Okay. This next one is again a book that I got from my coworker. What Looks Like Crazy on an Ordinary Day by Pearl Cleage. Next book I have is called Forever by Timothy B. McCann. This next book I started and just never finished reading it, but I plan to start over and read it again from the beginning. It is The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes by Zael Axelrod. Her name's Antonia Tony Bennett. Yes, she's heard all the stories before, and she's not a rock star. Neither are the Lilies, not yet. But the difference between being famous and being almost famous can be a single wrong note, or the start of something that'll change your life forever. The next book I have is called When Perfect Ain't Possible by Suzette D. Harrison. This book I'm actually thinking about reading for this month, for Pride Month. It is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. And the thing that I liked about this book is actually because he is a poet, it's written as like one long poem, which should be interesting. Next book is actually part of a series. I picked it up just on a whim because I'm actually not a big romance reader, but I saw it and thought the cover was pretty and thought it would be interesting. So it's How to Catch a Queen, and it's part of the Runaway Royals series by Alyssa Cole. It actually reminds me of those books that you would see on your like grandma's nightstand and everything, that you just know is probably like a romance somewhere. So yeah. Book I have is the next two books I actually have are part of a series that I've already started. I've already read the first book, which is Children of Blood and Bone by Tony Adeyemi. So the next two books are actually the two books in that series. First one is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and the next one is Children of Anguish and Anarchy. Books that I am about to discuss are by the same author, and they are part of the You Are a Badass collection. So this one is You Are a Badass. I've already actually read this one. I want to read it again because I'm in a different headspace from when I first read this. So I want to see whether I still, enjoy it as much as I did before. And I don't really like reading self-help books, but this is one of the good ones that I found. The next one I have is Badass Habits. Cultivate the awareness, boundaries, and daily upgrades you need to make them stick. So this one kind of breaks down the different habits that you can create. I haven't read this one yet. Look forward to reading it. And the next one is You Are a Badass Every Day. How to keep your motivation strong, your vibe high, and your quest for transformation unstoppable. Two books were actually, and that's the same set of books that my coworker gave me. So this one is One in a Million by Kimberla Lawson Roby. One is Pushing Up Daisies by Jamise L. Dames. I like the cover. It's really cute. I have no idea what it's about. The next two books are part of the same, I'm going to say same series because I'm not sure whether it's just a trilogy or not, but I don't have the third book as of right now. But it is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I actually saw the movie first, and then I saw that I just happened to run across the book, and I was like, well, I liked Crazy Rich Asians, the movie, so much, so let's check out the book and see how different they are. And the next book is also in that series as well as the second book, and it is China Rich Girl. Coworker apparently gave me a lot of books, and I remember she gave me a large bag of books, but I am just realizing that she definitely contributed a lot to this collection. So the next two books are also ones that she gave me. This one is All Up in My Business by Letitia Lovely. Next one is Too Much Drama, a novel by Deborah Phillips. This next book I got, I love Prince, so I knew of his wife Maite Garcia. So this one is the most beautiful, My Life with Prince. I actually got this one from the Book Warehouse. I think I was in Hilton Head, and I got that one along with a few others. The next one I got is by Jasmine Guillory, While We Were Dating. It looks like a romance. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of romance books, but I will try them every once in a while. So I really like the cover of this one, which is why I got it. And this one states, two people realize that it's no longer an act when they veer off script into sizzling romantic comedy. Something I'm realizing as I read the synopsis on these books is that I tend to really I stick to my little box of the things I like. A lot of these have to do with Hollywood romances if it is going to deal with the romance. So next book I picked up at the time, I didn't know that it was a series, and I actually downloaded the series. I actually downloaded the other two books in the series to my tablet in my Kindle app, so I plan to read those, I guess probably in order, because it seems like they're in order, but can be read by themselves. But this one is Act Your Age, Eve Brown. And the other two are about her sisters. One is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and the other one is Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Yep, sweet. This video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you don't miss part 2 of this collection. I'd like to know is if you had to rescue one book off of your shelf and your house was on fire, which one would it be? Put it down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.